My bonus question was total number of points, and I actually got that. I was the one who got that one right in our house, but I didn't think it was going to be, 40-22 or whatever, or
Right.
42-20. I was thinking more it was going to be 34 to what, So
Right.
I was laughing. I'm like, well, that's not the way I planned it, but okay.
However it comes.
However. Well, let's see. Should we move into the frenzy
Sure.
and see, because you probably saw like a lot of different things. So fashion wise, my two favorite looks, for the Eagles, who he's been killing it all season. And I sent it to you and I said, yes, it was Devontae Smith. That guy is so sharp. And that longer jacketed suit with the belt. I did read some people who were bashing the belt. I liked the belt.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it made it really interesting. But that guy is built for clothes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He can probably wear anything.
Yeah.
But he really brought it. But I thought it was interesting that he wore red, the Kansas City color. And then also Mahomes, who I don't really generally like how he dresses, but he had like a green suit. So there was some weird, I just thought that was weird. I thought that's kind of, is that psychological or is it just a non-issue and I'm just reading everything into it?
I mean, it could be a non-issue, but it could be a little bit of trolling,
I mean, that Devontae Smith was red head to toe.
And I don't know if you noticed, did you notice that for pregame warm-ups, Jalen Hurts wore black and red shoes to warm up in?
Were those Jordan shoes that are like not like?
I'm guessing they were. I couldn't really tell because he had a spat on, meaning he had tape over part of them. And
That's why, because you're not supposed to wear those.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I read that.
And then he had changed for the game, so he was wearing green and white.
Purple?
Were they purple?
Was it purple? I don't know. I thought there was some strange fashion choices. Yeah. The other good fashion favorite I had though was Charles Omenihu from Kansas City. He had like a vest. I like that vest look. And it was funny because I was reading, and I think it might have been in GQ. It was, if you're too big to wear an actual suit jacket, just cut the sleeves off and make it a vest. And it's kind of like, obviously it was very tailored and it was very well done. But I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because, how are you going to get into a jacket when you got guns like that?
Right.
But that was a really nice look. So one for each, fashion wise, were my favorite things. Then my favorite thing about the game we touched on earlier already, but it was the Philadelphia defense.
Yeah.
It was the most exciting part of the game. And every sack just was so kind of interesting to watch because they just swallowed him up and he just crumbled in. And it happened, 6 times? And there was 2 in a row, and I thought it was just that part was super, super exciting because I didn't think there was a lot of offensive woohoo, Saquon clearly was, held to very minimal rushing yards, but still he was so important to the game because he was throwing a lot of good blocks and they had to cover him. So, he was still important, but the defense to me, the Philadelphia defense was my favorite thing to watch. Josh Sweat, wow, did he have a game. And Cooper DeJean, happy 22, young man.
Right.
Can you imagine his birthday every year from here on out is just, how are you going to top that?
Harrison. And so what you just said about Saquon kind of relates to what I was saying earlier about the Chiefs, in that although he was held in check, they still always had that threat that, hey, he could do some damage, which helped the passing game, right? So you gotta play football is what you have to do. So
yeah. So what was your favorite part of the game?
So I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan, and my favorite part was that he played so well again. If everyone kind of remembers the first Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts, except for the fumble he had, played an excellent and really kind of outplayed Patrick Mahomes that game.
Mhm.
The Chiefs ended
Mhm.
up winning. And so I was just happy to see him just right from the start. Just he was sharp, he was on point. He showed Buffalo how you run the tush push.
Yes, he did.
Because when they
Yes,
run,
he did.
unstoppable.
Did you see Saquon on the back of that tush push?
Yeah.
Saquon was pushing it. Like, I think Saquon's the guy who got him over. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Even though
that
I don't like that play.
you do not like that play.
No, you know I don't like that play. I don't. I just think it's, I don't know. Once or twice is a novelty, great. All the time, it's like, yeah, here they go.
Well,
So favorite. Back to your favorite.
yeah. So that was my favorite. Just seeing
Okay.
the with which he operated and that offense operated. He got everyone involved. AJ Brown got a touchdown.
Yeah.
Smith touchdown. He obviously rushed for one, and so that was my favorite part watching the game.
I think those wide receivers are underrated. You just don't hear them talked about the way you hear about some other wide receivers, but they quietly do their thing.
But I think that's only because the whole team is so good, and so
Yeah.
and look, they probably don't have the production of a Jamar Chase or of a Justin
Mike
Jefferson.
Evans.
But they're right, Mike. They're right there. They're put it this way: they are elite receivers, right? Whether
Yeah.
the match up exactly correct or not, they are. Make no doubt, both those guys are elite, number one worthy receivers.
Yeah, they really are. They
Yeah.
really are. So frustration. My frustration, and I hate to say this because I know you love Jalen Hurts, but I don't think he was the MVP.
No.
No, I don't. I think that Josh Sweat or
Okay.
Cooper DeJean. Jalen had a great game for sure. And I was very happy for him. I really like him too. I love the fact that he has an all-female team surrounding him. He's obviously very intelligent. But I just thought the defense was so commanding, and Josh Sweat was everywhere. He was everywhere. It was just very predictable to me that they were going to give it to Jalen Hurts, and he had a great game for sure, but they wouldn't have been where they were without that just penetrating defense. And then Cooper DeJean too, I thought would have been a great candidate. A pick six in a Super Bowl, how often does that happen?
Yeah,
I don't think very often, right?
Yes.
So I was just a little frustrated because I thought that was really the safe and predictable MVP call.
Well, Joy Taylor, leading up to the Super Bowl, said something interesting as far as the regular season MVP. She said, look, it's probably going to be either Josh Allen or Lamar. And she said, maybe we're at a point in time where we need a separate award for MVP, because in her opinion, not necessarily that he should have won, if I remember correctly, but that Saquon should have been more of a factor in the odds for MVP.
Yes.
But he was going to be dismissed simply because of the position he played. And so, look, the quarterbacks carry so much of the burden in terms of what they have to do physically and what they have to know mentally, that they just become this exalted position where anything goes well, they get all the credit, and supposedly when things don't go quite as well, they get a lot of the blame. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he won from that standpoint. He's the QB, but yeah, maybe it is time to look at having, and in addition to just have almost awards for QBs, and then hey, let's have.
I think so. I agree with that. Because really, shouldn't the MVP be the person who made the biggest impact on the team?
Right?
And undoubtedly, to me and to many people, Saquon Barkley was that person. I
Yes.
mean, what he brought to that team, not only from his own performance, but like you said, the elevation of the rest of the team
Yes.
is I yeah. I mean, Josh Allen, yeah, he had a great year. Lamar, yeah, he had a great year. Neither one of those guys were in the Super Bowl, so
And historically, there have been non-quarterbacks, obviously, that won it, but now we're in such a place
not
where
very often.
such a high hurdle for one besides the quarterback to win those MVPs. Like they'll give a guy Offensive Player of the Year, which I think Saquon may
Right,
have won at the NFL
he
honors,
did.
but
Yes, he did.
it's rare that anyone outside of that position is going to win MVP of anything. So,
Yeah. Mm. What's your frustration?
my frustration was the aftermath, just the debate around Jalen, his value as a QB. Look, the question of if he's elite or not, I don't know. I don't. To be quite honest, I don't know the position well enough to, in terms of the the little nuances to say whether or not he's elite. However, I will say he's damn effective. And on that team, and when they play complementary football on that team, he is elite, right? When they're all
Yeah.
rolling, everything's rolling. Saquon, like we saw, the threat of Saquon makes him an elite performer, elite efficiency, and so it was just because you hate to see them have this high moment on Sunday and then immediately on Monday they're breaking down his game. Well, I don't think
Yeah.
he's don't trust me. He didn't write anyone's coattails in the season they had.
No. No, he
Right?
did not.
I can put a ton of quarterbacks on that team and they're not going to win the Super Bowl. Put it that way,
Right.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like you know how much I love his story going back to Oklahoma, which is when I became a
Yep.
fan. Well, going back to Alabama when I became a fan, and then he transferred to Oklahoma. And I just thought like that's someone who their story should be told to kids because this is how you handle adversity. You don't just give up and throw in the towel. He had a dream to make it to the NFL. And he said, "Look, I'm at Alabama now. Another guy's taking my job. I'm going to support him, support my team, and be the best team that I can be." And then he said, "Hey, I'm going to look for other opportunities." Goes to Oklahoma, gets himself drafted second round.
Yep.
Super Bowls where he
No,
played
he's
fantastically, outplayed college.
undoubtedly high caliber quality
Yeah,
player, and definitely just in terms of a leader and the character, really impressive for
yeah,
sure.
yes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the flop for me was just the game itself. Like, yawn. I
Yes.
mean, I probably wouldn't say that if Kansas City would. I'd be like all mad, but it was just kind of a letdown, for what was a pretty exciting season, as they all are. But
Yes.
that was my flop. I really thought it was going to be a better game.
I agree with you 100%. It was not a great watch. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. Just even though I'm appreciating the Eagles winning, and that's what I was hoping for, but there
Mhm.
wasn't very exciting because just
Yeah.
the outcome was not in doubt for very long, right?
No,
So
no, it really wasn't.
no.
It really wasn't. Was that your flop too, or did you have something else?
No, my thought was kind of going back to what you talked about earlier in terms of the energy of the Chiefs, and that I just was very surprised that they just weren't able to earlier than they did. And those couple of scores they had at the end were really. It wasn't a 40-22 game, right? It was much worse.
No,
And
no.
I was surprised that at some point, even though the Eagles were on their path, they were going to do what they were going to do. I just surprised they weren't able to change any of the momentum earlier than they were. And as you mentioned that, I didn't think about it all this week, but thinking about it, looking back, you're right. Like their energy was just so low.
It
And
was weird.
like I mentioned at the start, they're used to this situation. They've been here 3 years in a row. So there's no surprises in terms of a practice schedule, or maybe they were over practiced,
Right.
lethargic. And I get, look, it's, despite what the fans think, it's hard to get up for 17 game weeks in a row and play at your highest of levels every week. However, Super Bowl is not the time where that typically happens for teams, and so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that, that was my thought.
Yeah. It was very weird.
Yeah.
Well,